What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Real Estate Served on the Rocks, brought to you by Living in Colorado, The Mile High Perspective, and Fathom Realty on YouTube. As always, my name is Charlie Sardelli, and today I am here with
Jameson Amros, which is a change for all of you people watching.
And Oscar Ibarra, welcome you to the show.
That's right. Oh, I like that, Oscar. I like that.
Welcoming you back.
Welcoming you back. And guys, remember, we're a podcast that we talk about real estate, we enjoy bourbon, and we come to you guys with audio every Friday and video on YouTube every Monday to Wednesday. And we're not only this podcast, we have community spotlight videos, we have new build home tours. So check out the channel, leave us a comment and a like. Tips, tricks, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, if you want to, there's a video on there if you want to buy a house with marijuana, because, you know, we live out here in Colorado, and if you live in the industry, you could do that. Mm-hmm. But
it's true. I was, total side note, we were flying from Austin, Texas, and we were going through the security line, and this lady and her daughter behind us were just loud, like just unnecessarily loud. And they were talking about different places they wanted to go, and the daughter was like, yeah, I'd really love to go to Colorado. And the daughter, when I say daughter, like it was a mom and daughter, like she was probably like 35. Yeah. The daughter was like 60, or the mother was 60. And the mother goes, why? Why would you want to move to Colorado, or why would you want to visit Colorado? Just to smoke reefer?
That's what everybody thinks.
And I like look back and I'm like, I wish I could say something right now. But yes, to
on that
smoke
note,
the reefer.
If you haven't been to Colorado and seen the beauty that is the state of Colorado, the Rocky Mountains, and even the meadows out east, is gorgeous. So it's not just all people smoking weed and getting high, guys. It's a very small portion of the population, but
And we don't call it reefer here.
yeah.
And it goes towards schools. So.
Schools and roads and all that kind of stuff.
The people that are smoking the reefers are funding our
trains,
schools.
and automobiles.
It's still federally illegal here. So.
Littering and smoking the reefer.
The reefer. The devil's lettuce. The gateway.
Yep.
The broccoli, as some kids call it.
The broccoli.
But we don't review
Easy,
that.
little yachty.
we don't review that on this podcast. What we review
Could be a fun episode.
It could be a fun episode to do a little pairing.
I will be absent for that episode.
What were we talking about?
I do not smoke weed,
Where
and you
are
do
we going?
not want to see me
What
on.
were we
I'll forget
talking
where I
about?
am.
Yeah.
Either that or I'll be in the closet.
I'd
scared.
probably go to sleep. Like, you give me a good gummy, and I'm just
He'd be holding the guitar behind him, just like, yeah, I'm playing, man.
Like,
I'll
music
be
is
so
coming from
out of
that.
it.
Well, guys,
I see
as
colors.
like I said earlier, we don't just talk about real estate on this podcast. We review bourbon, and now we're on episode 41. 41.
Wow.
This is episode 41. So at this point, we have had 41 different
Yeah, we need to do
bourbons.
something special. We're creeping on the
50.
Yeah,
50 will do
creeping
something
on the
special.
50.
We need to do
Yep.
something cool special.
Yeah, I think
Like out of the box special.
I like it.
Somebody get a hold of some grandpappy,
Some reefer.
Some peppy.
some Pappy Van Winkle.
No, I'm talking about something special. Like
like a tasting test? Or
somewhere
what do
else, or do some
I see.
record
Oh,
something,
yeah,
we'll go to a
something
distillery or
different.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I mean, obviously get a good bottle, but
Yeah.
do something, out of the box.
absolutely.
I like
Maybe
it.
we just go
I
set
mean,
up
we might move location as it is, but
Maybe we go set up in in Denver and try and sneak some sips while we're talking about
well,
it.
right.
I mean, the Mile High Spirits.
Yeah.
Did you guys see the Rick House?
Oh,
No.
yeah, true.
We can still do it in there.
We just got to deal with the homeless encampment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, they're
you know
trying
what?
to deal with that already, right?
We'll pack all this stuff up. We'll Uber it down there. So
you
we
go.
don't have to worry about.
No,
the
I
cars.
just feel like it would be very, as we talk about real estate and owning a home.
Oh well, no. I mean,
like, these guys know what I'm talking
if you really want to get crazy, maybe we just do it in one of the homeless encampments.
Yeah, exactly. Boom.
I mean,
Have them sit down.
what? Who has
What
the
do you
biggest
think of
tent up here?
homeownership?
Yeah.
How are interest rates dealing?
Yeah. How's
Not
it working
well,
for you right now?
because
Think
the
you can
REI
come up
tent
with a
looks
down
very
payment?
comfortable.
Yeah.
But
It looks
on
very affordable.
Today's episode, I've honestly never even seen or heard of this bourbon. I do like the bottle specifically because it's like a see-through kind of thing with Jefferson on the back. But today's bourbon that we're trying is Jefferson Small Batch.
Yep.
And
Very small batch.
Very small batch. And this is Jefferson has, I think, if I'm right, over 4 different bourbons.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that kind of, if you heard Jefferson's, one thing that you might know of
Jefferson Ocean.
is Jefferson Ocean. Yep.
Aged at sea.
Yep,
Yes.
and that is the one that they basically take the barrels out to sea.
Put them in the bow of a ship,
And they ship them out.
They ship
For, I
them
think, a
out,
year or
and they
two?
will 8 years.
8 years.
They
That
will leave
boat's
them on
out there for
ships
8 years?
8 years.
That's
Jesus, that sounds
Yeah,
kind of
they
ridiculous.
go all around the world, and then you can. It's cool. And sorry, we're like hyping up something we're not drinking today, but
It's their claim
it's
to
different.
fame.
Yeah, every bottle that they have of the Jefferson Ocean aged at sea has a serial number with the barrel that it came from. So you can then go on their website, you can put that serial number for the barrel in, and it will give you an interactive map of where that barrel has been around the world over that 8 year of its lifetime.
Well, and then I also, that little booklet that's on the front of the bottle there, it has some pretty cool information on it. But they actually, one note that they had about this small batch was that it's like partly charred. It's not fully charred. And the reason that they do that is because they want more of the notes from the bourbon and other flavors to come out rather than just the wood.
Correct. Yes.
So, I mean, I'm interested in trying it.
Their whole shtick with any of their bourbons is they like to experiment with the barrel process.
Nice.
More so than a lot of different people, and they do it in really super unique ways. And they've been around since 1997.
Okay.
But their lineage goes back to 1799.
Oh, yeah, the story on this one's
Which
pretty
is
cool.
pretty cool. So, and I'll pull it up just so I don't.
I'll go
butcher
ahead
it.
and pour it so we can let it sit.
So it goes back to 1799, and essentially, Trey Zoller is one of the master distillers and founder. His 8th generation grandmother was around in 1799 and got arrested for what they deemed production and sales of spirituous liquors. So essentially, she was drug running some bourbon.
She was
Back in
selling
the-
the reefer.
Back in the 1800s.
Talk about a matriarch,
Yep.
you know?
In the 1800s, and that's where that lineage went through, all the way back to 1799, which is super cool to me. Like,
So
just
where
to have
does
that kind of story.
the Jefferson name come from?
I think it's because back then he was still very much around within politics.
still kicking and doing things.
He was the one partaking in the reefer.
Yep, exactly. So this is the I'm just gonna kick it back to Oceans. I was gonna buy Oceans.
Yeah.
I just couldn't find it. So they use a boat specifically called O-Search. Okay. So O-Search is a globally recognized nonprofit, and they are dedicated to studying and tracking keystone marine species like great white sharks, tiger sharks, humpback whales, orcas, etc. So they just follow them throughout their migratory patterns.
Yeah.
But they're out for sea for so long that it was the perfect partnership to then give them these barrels in the
nice.
store. So not only are they aging, and they have some really cool play between, like, obviously the humidity, the salt water, and like in a rick house, barrels just sit static, right? The liquor sits static. Whereas in a boat, it's obviously rocking back and forth, and they wanted to see what that would do.
Well, I'm
to
even
the
excited
taste.
to.
Well, then you got the salt water and
Yeah.
the different. I think the climate or the weather is a lot more prevalent out to sea. So I mean, the rick house still has a seasonality, right?
Yeah.
And it expands and contracts the barrel and does all that, and then that happens to the spirits evaporate, whatever the case may be. Out to sea, I'm sure that's just elevated
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, elevated, and then you have that extra salt.
and swashing around.
Yeah, all that
does.
movement.
Well, remember, and I didn't bring it again. That the aerator,
Yeah,
the
the aerator
little thing.
Maybe that's what we'll do for something special.
Yeah. So they basically
No,
use
come
they
on.
use their
Today's
entire-
episode, something special.
Hey, it'll be a little addition.
Happy 50th.
They're like I said, their whole thing is experimenting different plays with the wood and the barrels and whatnot. So their distillery is the Kentucky Artesian Distillery. That's the home of it, and that's where they do. I mean, they've done barrel aged Manhattans, which they pre-make the Manhattan, barrel age
That's
it,
interesting.
and then do it as a ready pour. Rum cask finishes, wine finishes, and wood experiments all are done. So when they say very small batch, it's because they are constantly experimenting with this bourbon, and every time they come out with something, the next experiment is going to be different. So you're not going to find this very small batch in the next bottle. It'll taste
Nice.
slightly different.
And you know what I like about this though? Is I said I read the little booklet earlier. It says that it mentions notes, but it doesn't mention any notes. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of like when the bourbons do that and the whiskeys do that, because you're not pigeonholed. You're not blinded into
Doesn't steer you.
expecting. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, this is their small batch. Does it say how long it was aged?
I am looking at that right now.
And I think I've had it, but that's
No, it
how
says
big of an
blended up to
impact.
4 hand-selected whiskeys. Flavors: vanilla, peach, toffee, finished delicate and warm with.
Hey, we don't want to
touch
know
of
the
honey.
notes
And then nose is
on your face.
yep. I got your
All
nose.
right, I'm gonna go ahead. And spin
No, I mean
open,
Jefferson. I've never purchased myself. I wanted to purchase the Ocean because of the hype, and then I was like,
Dude,
too much hype. I don't know.
It's so good.
and
it's
now,
one of my favorite.
I mean,
bourbons.
this is gonna be our first sip from what I remember of Jefferson. So hopefully it sells me. If not, Jefferson, hey, send me some stuff. Send
I
me on
will
your
say
product.
for a small batch, just on the nose, and maybe this is just we're getting used to this stuff, but
Yeah,
It's-
so the age is a little bit different because it's a very small batch. It's
Yeah.
4 different ages of barrels.
combined.
that they blend.
use.
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
exactly.
I mean, just the burn on the nose isn't too bad. It's there, but
What's the
I'm-
proof?
It's 41.5 ABV,
Okay.
so 92.
Nice.
Yep.
Okay.
That's
So it
good.
should be pretty damn drinkable.
I'm definitely getting some of the sweeter tones through the nose.
Mm-hmm.
Not
There's
as
a little
much
bit
spice.
of like citrusy
Yeah.
thing. Like I'm getting, but I get a lot of like sugar.
It's got a little. Yeah, I know. I think I know what you're talking about. It's more. It's.
I was gonna
almost
say
more
sugar.
acidic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely more acidic for like that citrus.
More of a sweet smell, not like a sweet fruity.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
The color's nice too.
I was gonna say, and for the combination
41,
of
yeah.
4 different,
Yeah, the
this
color's
is
nice.
this is pretty clean.
I see
even the
no
color.
particulates.
But also
all.
makes sense because they don't char the barrels as long.
Correct, yes.
So
And-
definitely gonna be a little.
I mean,
lighter.
we know that it's a decent bottle, but
Yeah.
if I get something like this, that's not. I don't know that if it's a good or a bad bottle. I'm gonna go towards we'll see what it tastes like.
Yeah.
Because again, the process of maybe not charring it full, gets it this color.
Yeah.
Most young bourbons or bourbons that are not high quality, they need to hurry up and put them out on market, and they're lighter because they don't age as long.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and get this first sip in.
Cheers,
Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Episode 41.
41.
Oh, cheers, Jefferson.
Mr.
Mr.
Jefferson.
Jefferson.
Actually, it's not Mr. Jefferson. They
Heard a
just-
great
It's like they use Nike. Is that
ancient.
like?
It's called Ancient Ones about Jefferson and Madison and their relationship.
Ooh.
Super interesting.
Okay.
Anyway,
All right.
No, we went history.
What the? Okay. I mean, just not. It's smooth. The alcohol doesn't hit you, but it's all right off the bat. It seems a little bit plain.
It's kind of like I want to say an unripe peach or
Yeah.
plum,
Yeah.
kind of sour. Kind of lingers like a kind of fishy.
I'm gonna be honest. I've never, out of all the 41 bourbons, this one is smooth on the tongue. Like at first sip, you get a smoothness.
Very
of it.
clean.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and it makes sense for the color.
yeah.
But definitely, for combining 4 barrels, the complexity is not there like I thought it would.
Yeah.
It's very light, but it lingers,
Yeah.
and it just keeps switching on me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like those everlasting gobstoppers and
Yeah.
Willy
Willy Wonka,
where
it
it's
just
like
keeps
okay,
changing.
now it's the now it's this flavor, now it's this flavor.
I'd be
want-
interested.
It almost steers into the Willet realm, but comes right back.
Yeah, almost a little
Yeah.
earthy, little.
No funky, a little
Yeah.
earthy.
I mean, it's just odd. It's not bad.
No,
at
it's
all.
different.
It's just different.
Very
I
different.
mean,
We'll
just
see
that
as
first
we
sip,
go.
like,
It's
yeah.
definitely not bad. It's just
I'm curious to see how it opens up.
again, I'm more of a darker,
Yeah,
richer,
same,
complex
same.
bourbon drinker. This isn't
Okay.
bad.
Well, and you won't.
there's a
you-
little bit of the spice. in
You
there.
guys will. You'll. The price will make sense too. I think.
Okay. Yeah, we'll give you guys a
Is it
price.
closer
for
to
the
the
Or
ra-
will it make sense?
Is it closer to the
Stay
brown
tuned to
bag?
find out.
brown bag?
I don't know.
Bourbon?
Well, stay tuned.
Um,
Stay tuned to find out.
right. So
Was it $8 or was it 80?
who knows?
Whoa! If it was $8, this is damn good.
Buy a whole case.
I will say though, like right off the bat, I would be fearful of. I mean, I know we do our rock rating based on how many rocks. I'd be fearful of putting a drop of water or something into this.
Yeah.
Not because of the flavor and how good the bourbon is, but because I feel like it would decompose what flavor is there.
Yeah, I think the opposite is if you make a really good cocktail with it, because it needs a little bit of something.
Exactly. Like this, I think this would be a great Manhattan or old
Yes.
fashioned.
Yep.
For sure. But we'll talk about that at the end as we let it open up.
I would probably say Manhattan better.
Yeah.
I think Manhattan better too.
Okay.
Yeah, just
Because you don't need the ice.
True.
and
True.
it'll change the flavor profile with
Yeah.
The vermouth in there.
vermouth.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe a little aeration, a little Manhattan.
Ooh.
Yeah, because the old fashioned, you just got the bitters.
Yeah.
And that's just going to enhance the citrusy it's going towards. So I don't know.
Be interesting.
We'll see.
So on today's episode, guys, the topic that we want to cover.
Relationships.
Yeah, right.
Should you get in one?
And are they good for home purchase?
Four
Now,
red
Unmarried
flags.
well,
relationships.
in all reality, guys, with the way that interest rates are, and obviously
Let's
the
do an
home
update,
prices.
actually, just
Yeah.
so you guys know where we're at. Because
Yeah.
right now, we usually put these out on Fridays, right? So today's Wednesday, the 5th?
Fourth.
4th. Wednesday the 4th, October 4th. If you watch video, it'll be out Monday, Tuesday, which is the 7th or the 8th. Right now, so we talk about the treasury bonds and the yield, right?
Yep.
And there's always a gap between where it's at. It's usually about 3.5% between where the treasury bond is and where mortgage rates are at. When I looked at treasury bonds yesterday, it was 4.96. So to figure out what mortgage rate should be, you add 3 to 3.5%, puts you at 7.9.
Well,
Yeah.
Like it's a raw number, right? 7.9%. Our par rate right now for a lot of lenders is an 8.125.
It's crazy.
So I just had a client go under contract this
not
last
my
week.
lenders. Call me.
Well, no, they do. It's
Yeah.
just points. And chaffer rates went up too.
Yep. We lost. I think it was
7.325. I think
on-
is what chaffer is right now.
I think
which
it was
is the
yesterday. We
down
lost
payment assistant.
30 plus points in a day.
Yeah, if you look at the MBS chart, the mortgage-backed securities chart over the last 6 months, it just looks like a really nice roller coaster ride that never hits the bottom.
Never
it
ends.
just keeps going down.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah.
But what like a couple of the lenders that I use, we've shopped a little bit. It's costing to get to a 7.625 right now. It's costing about a point and a quarter, which is 1% of whatever the loan is. So at $600,000 loan, you're looking at $6,500 to $7,000 just to get to a 7.625. So the reason we're talking about this, I just wanted to give you guys context of why this is, I think, going to continue to be a trend because as housing prices, they're not accelerating like they did a year ago, but they're still up. We're up 1.5%, 2% on average. Mortgage rates aren't going down. The Fed has made it very clear that they want to keep it higher for longer to bring that inflation down to their 2% goal. So I think the topic today that Charlie's going to introduce, Dan,
And there it is. This is hello, everybody. You're with us during the national test alert that the federal government is doing to test the national.
Is my phone not on Do Not Disturb?
I think your phone's on Do Not Disturb because mine didn't make any sound.
So mine is not on Do Not Disturb.
It
should be
not.
should be good then. Oh, there it goes.
my
It's a
phone.
little different.
Boom.
Jeez.
So you guys are with us for
Not
that,
only my phone, but
And
my watch. Take it easy.
right?
Take it easy.
It's funny. It just came through on my phone
yeah.
in my pocket, but.
So that's the warning light for mortgage rates.
Yeah.
Perfect timing.
If you guys
Perfect
didn't know,
timing.
it's like, hey, they're bad. We should lock. Anyway,
Right.
I think it's going to be a big topic going into this next year. I don't think it's going to change. Wages are increasing, but I don't think they're increasing at a fast enough pace to keep up with home costs.
Historically, they never have.
Yeah.
Well, and they're now like we're looking at it now, year over year, 6, 7, 8% on average versus 3%, and inflation has gone down, but home prices have just skyrocketed.
And again, we've said it multiple times on multiple episodes. The definition of perfect storm is exactly where we're at right now. All these factors that could line up to create a situation have lined up.
Yes.
And now we are here, right? And the reason that we touched on interest rates and home prices is because a lot of people are having to do different things and come up with creative ways to get into a home. And what we're finding is, as our culture here in the United States shifts and we see more young couples living with each other, whether it be apartments or moving into homes, what statistic that we saw was that at this point in time, 18% of new home buyers are now unmarried couples. And that is up from 4% in 1985.
Or is it just the fact that people aren't getting married?
Well, I mean, but
That
that's
too.
also the
That
thing.
too.
That's a factor,
and
right?
You're right.
That's a factor for sure. But the whole, and that's what I mean by the change in culture, right? Because at this point in time, I feel like we're shifting to such an individualistic view, especially when it comes to finances, because as much as people in the government may not want to admit it, silent depression, silent recession, whatever you want to call it, you're having to look at your money a little bit more, right?
Well, and that's a interesting point of view, because I think when they were keeping the interest rates high, they were hoping they tanked something.
Yes.
And they didn't. And
The only thing
people
they broke was our spirits.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It absolutely
Well,
did.
and I think,
100%.
to your point, Oscar, I think something that adds to that too is that the housing market across the United States is not copy paste right now. I mean, I went back to North Carolina in the middle of September, and I'm talking with friends about home prices and availability and inventory, and I just looked at my buddy and I was like, I wish I was a realtor in North Carolina right now compared to how it is in Colorado.
Yeah, I don't think there's some states that they don't write contracts. They don't. They just show property.
Yep.
And they get paid the same.
Yep.
With that said, you can't compare Colorado to Montana or North Carolina. There's multiple reasons why, taxes being one. I mean, home prices in Texas are half of what they are here. You get a mansion in Texas for $350,000, but your taxes, holy crap, they're like $15,000 a year.
Yep.
Those never go down. You know, so there's multiple reasons why the markets are different in different states. We won't get into that. We can't compare. They're very state to
Not
state.
apples to apples.
No,
Hyperlocal.
absolutely not.
Exactly.
Especially now we talked about it before, but with the migration and being able to work from anywhere,
Yeah, exactly.
it's affected it even more.
But what we can track is the change in culture.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think the goal today is to just kind of go through, because when we say 18%, obviously the first thing people are going to say is, well, that's not very much.
Yeah.
It's not, but it is the highest
It's ever.
percentage it's ever been. And
It's very high compared to where it was.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
right.
4% to 18%.
Yeah, and
That's
I
a
think
lot.
there's a lot of fear in, if you're with a significant other and you guys are like, well, we're renting, right? And I think we got a good dynamic because you live with your significant other, but you guys are renting at $2,000 a month. Oscar and I live with our spouses. I moved into my house the week after Caitlin and I got married. But in the beginning, we weren't both on the loan. So what we want to do is kind of walk through the hurdles that you guys need to be careful of. The difference between renting with a significant other versus buying a house, and what that means is title. If you guys go your separate ways, it's not like getting a divorce because you're not married. So who owes what? And
How to
then maybe
take
some
title.
of the reasons why we're seeing this upward trend of unmarried couples going in together. And I would say it's funny because it says unmarried couples. I'm also seeing an increase in, if you and I were just two single dudes,
absolutely.
go and say, let's just go buy a house, or let's go buy a
Yeah.
duplex and rent out the other side. There people are getting creative for certain reasons. So we want to go through what that looks like from a real estate standpoint so that you guys can ask the right questions to your significant other if you guys are making this kind of massive commitment.
Yes.
So that we
And
don't
again, yes,
see
it's a
mistakes.
massive commitment, but so is renting together.
Right.
You're on the hook for the lease, both. So we're going to talk about what unbiased, what it looks like, what the ramifications are, and what our personal opinion is. We just took a topic and we're just going to, give our personal opinion on a lot of that stuff. But the ins and outs of how it works doesn't change. Your opinion does.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the first thing that we want to touch on, obviously, and Jameson kind of, poked it a little bit with what he was just saying, but obviously the biggest consideration when looking to buy a place with a significant other is the finances, right? How do you kind of plan for that? And a lot of the time when people are married, getting a divorce is such a standard procedure that assets are split. You have these things, all these things pre-written out or understood in a way with your lawyer. Whereas an unmarried couple, you don't really have as many protections as you would having that certificate that says you're married. So that's something that I think, we should talk about and make them aware of.
Even with the marriage certificate, if your significant other isn't on the loan, she's still going to have to go through probate.
Yeah.
And fight that, hey, this was my husband, I'm entitled to the house, and then all the other ramifications come on board. I bought the house with just my income, my name, my everything, and I don't want to leave my wife high and dry, have her go through all that crap, because a lot of people, and I still haven't done it, make a living will. The best way to do it is I quit claimed her on. So now she's on title and she's owner of the home.
All right, so I'll slow you down a little bit. And what Oscar is talking about right now is title. Basically, how are your names written on the ownership of that property?
Well, before we go into that, let me ask you one thing, and I'm curious, and I'm sure the folks are curious. What does that look like, unmarried couples? I mean, how many years before they even pop the question, or don't they just don't?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I will tell you, for us right now, we've been together for 2 years, right? And we've been living together since March of 2023. And I'll tell you, it was in perfect example, right? This was not something that we sat down and talked about.
So you've been together from March 2023?
Living together.
Oh, living together.
Living together, yeah.
And together for how long?
2 years.
2 years. So
2 years.
on your third year, you said, "Hey, let's."
No. This was in the middle of our second year.
On the second
Yeah.
year. Okay.
And so, but to your point, and what Jameson said earlier, as far as options go, my buddy who I'd been living with at the time had just got, he's doing phenomenal with his jobs. He moved up and he has the opportunity to live by himself. So we had that conversation and he said, "Hey man, I really want to try this." Right. And first thing I went to is, "Oh shit. I'm happy for you, but I just went from paying $1,000, $11,000 a year to paying $2,000 a month for this rent, $24,000 a year. What am I going to do?" And, where I love my girlfriend and I wanted to live with her and experience it, do I feel like we were forced into the situation a little bit early because of finances? Absolutely.
Did she?
Yeah.
She felt that too?
Yeah, absolutely. And
Or
it's,
is it just you?
no, it was both of us because at the same time,
you sure?
it went into, I'm sure.
We got to
I'm
have her
sure.
on the show. I want to hear her
Right.
perspective.
But-
Because
well,
Charlie's like, "I didn't really want to do it." And she's like, "I told him, like,
Well, no. And
date number 4. You know what?
But
Let's
to your
just go
point,
for it."
society changing, right? I grew up very, 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 traditional. Like my grandma, I told her that, we were moving in together and you could hear it in her voice, "Oh, really?" Kind of a thing. And so for me, it was more so that traditional aspect rather than actually living together because me and her are like the same person. Like we do the same things. We enjoy the same things. So I wasn't worried about that, but it was almost as if I went, either I'm going to have to get a 1-1 and I'm still going to be paying $1,500 a month, or we do this thing and we start going, we go in together. But that gave both of us a peace of mind because she was even renting by herself beforehand.
$400 dictated your freedom?
Yeah, but
Man.
I mean, kept the
I
square
mean, I've been
footage.
married for quite some time. I mean, $400, I'd be like, "What, freedom?"
Yeah,
Hell,
no.
I'm just kidding. I love my wife.
No,
It's all good.
but see,
my
that's the
kids.
thing too, and also like I can admit it, I enjoy having the other person there. I don't think that I could live alone paying that amount.
It sucks. I
Right?
lived alone for a long time before I got married.
And so, but that's just a great example to Oscar's point of it's situational, right? And yeah, although we are renting together and living together, we still have to have these conversations about finances and go, okay, well, and I still feel weird because I'm the one, everything, payments to make it easy. I make all the payments and then she Venmos me, all that kind of stuff. But it still feels weird to me to send her a Venmo request and say, "All right, here are all the utilities. Here's the money request for it," because it's just one of the, we live together. Like I'm not trying to be a dick and ask you for money, but that's how it goes, right? But then also, we're not married, so it's hard. We can't really create a joint bank account and have it seriously set up with plans in place and stuff like that. So now we're both separately looking at our incomes and still separately going, okay, I make this much, you make this much, I can manage this, you can manage this. Is this good? Let's do it, right? And so even now, as we gear up and we're looking into buying a home, as I'm a real estate agent, starting the videography company, all of that, if we were to apply right now, I can't hold up my side. I can't add any value. Yeah, my credit's good, but I don't have any income to show. She right now is the steady, solid income breadwinner of the relationship, and that's something I had to deal with a little bit mentally. But that's what we're seeing, right? Is a lot of the time you have to think separately in order to come together to make those decisions. And I'm even having the conversation, right? Unmarried couple, having the conversation what we're going for. I'm having to tell her, hey, based on this market, you might have to make some compromises. We might have to live in Aurora. I know you don't like it, but
Hey, whoa. Don't be bashing Aurora.
it's good. But she has, she grew up here.
Beacon Point. I mean, that's awesome.
She grew up here. She's got some memories in places, right? And
yeah.
some places
Great
she
place
doesn't
off
want to be,
Colfax.
right?
Oh, that's North Aurora. We're talking about South Aurora. It's beautiful.
Whoa. Don't bash North Aurora.
I am bashing North Aurora. They're on the news I'm just kidding.
Well,
guys.
Charlie, I
I'm
think
kidding.
you make a good point, and I think it's something that we should define, right? Because Oscar talked about title, you're talking about finances, and
Yeah,
it
you're
coalesces.
sweating bullets right now.
Well, no, but it coalesces into I think what's a very important question for people that are about to embark on this journey. In your scenario, okay, let's say that Alicia did make enough money to qualify for whatever home purchase she wanted, and you could not contribute. And Oscar touched on it. When you talk about title and you talk about a mortgage, they're two different entities that allow ownership of the house. And the difference is people will make the mistake thinking that both of us have to be on the mortgage. And if that's the case, then you're both on title.
Well, and there's a couple of side notes on that.
Correct. And we'll get to that here in a second.
Let's get to that.
But what the important piece is, the only person that can go on title that has physical ownership of the house is the individual or individuals that are on the loan itself.
All right,
Primarily.
I was going to say, repeat that again, just a little bit.
So whoever is on title is going to be who is on and taking the loan application themselves.
When you close.
And
it depends on the bank too. And it goes back to married or unmarried.
Mm-hmm.
If you're married, the bank will sometimes consider your spouse with a no income but credit pool, and they'll force them to be on title.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I wanted to touch on is, so people are quick to go on a lease, right? And a lease is different, right? You have to pay the lease.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And you guys are both on the hook, and it's about a year, right? When it comes to a mortgage, you have more options. Mm-hmm. How you're going to take title. Mm-hmm. There's two big ones. Who's going to be on the loan? Mm-hmm. So if let's say that your girlfriend says, okay, we'll buy a house. We'll put I'll be on the loan, and then I'll put you on the title. Well, you have ownership of the home, and depending on how you took title, that's going to dictate how, moving forward. But she's the only one on the hook for the finance,
for the mortgage. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So you're like right now. My wife's a stay-at-home mom, and she's on title, but I'm the only one that's going to get hit if I don't pay. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we are married, so then all that comes into play, and it's on her too. But when you're talking about someone going into a mortgage, there's a lot more options than just a lease.
Yeah.
And you should very much so consider that, because outside of the unmarried, and you said it earlier, let's say that we were 3 bachelors, mm-hmm. and we're paying $4,000 a month for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, condo, whatever. Maybe one of us has great credit and a great job, and you say, hey, let's reconvene. Let's say that we go get a super awesome condo downtown at the Spire or One Lincoln Park or the Bank. Mm-hmm. Our payment would probably be the same, and we're smack downtown above the bars and everything, or Highlands, or wherever we want to be. Mm-hmm. Then we go in. He's our landlord now. Mm-hmm. So there's different options you could take within the mortgage realm.
Absolutely.
Now let's talk about title and how and why.
So this is where I'm going to ask Oscar this question. But when we're talking about, so in this scenario, let's just take the scenario that only one of you can apply for the loan.
Yep.
Okay. You apply for the loan. Alicia applies for the loan. Mm-hmm. She is now on title. In that case, it would be tenancy and severalty, which just means that 1%. At this point in time, if something happens, it just goes to her. Mm-hmm. If she wants to have a living will or anything else, in an agreement in place to transfer something to you, that's a separate document. That tenancy in severalty, or how it's written on title, is enforced at close. That doesn't mean that you can't change it after the fact. Mm-hmm.
Multiple times.
Oscar alluded to this, and the easiest way to do it is what's called a quitclaim deed. Mm-hmm. And a quitclaim deed essentially has Alicia filling out a form saying that she is deeding the house to you as her partner, and allowing you to come on title after it's closed without having to contribute financially from a bank statement standpoint, right? The bank doesn't need to know that you weren't there. It just now means that you're now on the title. Mm-hmm. At that point, there's a couple different occupations or tenancies. So I don't know if you want to do it, but there's 2 big ones when it's 2 people: joint tenancy and tenancy in common.
Right. And before we get into the tenancy, let's talk about, there is some other things to take in consideration. Now you're on title. Now the government is going to look at that, and you're liable for taxes. Mm-hmm. So, and then what is the ramifications of you now having this home that has value? What are the tax ramifications? Taxes are now tax deductible, and you have all that. So talk to your CPA. Yep. And every state is different, but it does not cost a whole lot to do a quitclaim deed.
It's like $75.
If you know a realtor, their title company will take care of it. Everything. Mm-hmm. They have attorneys that'll draw it up. All it's saying is, I, Oscar, am allowing you to be on title with me. I sign it, not the other person. They take it to a notary, or the title company has a notary, and then they take care of recording it. Mm-hmm. Now, another way of doing it is getting a quitclaim deed from an attorney online, wherever you want to do it. Take it to your local bank or a notary, sign it in front of the notary. They stamp it. You take it down to the county, and then pay whatever the recording fee. Sometimes it's like $10. Pay it, they record it, and now that's it. So a total, let's call it $25-$30 max to record a quitclaim deed. Super easy, super cheap. Just know the ramifications that come with it. There's pros and cons, more pros than cons, but there is that.
Well, and the biggest ramification when we're talking about unmarried individuals on title at the same time is if, and we'll use your example again, if Alicia is on title and you live with her and you are not on that title, and let's say she loses her job, has to declare bankruptcy, has to sell the house, etc., there is no legal obligation tying you to that property whatsoever. Once you're on title, that's where the biggest ramification in my book is now you have a legal interest in that property, and that is where if you're either a joint tenant, tenancy in common, if something does happen, let's say you guys break up, right? There's no divorce lawyers that are going to say, hey, you owe this, that, and the other, but you still have some sort of liability to being on title specifically.
Yes.
Right. And then let's talk about the state laws too, because let's say that she does buy the house, doesn't put you on title, and now you've been paying because she did lose her job, and you take over payments. You've been paying for the last 2 years, and she's like, you know what? This isn't working out. I'm out of here. And you're like, well, I've been paying this mortgage for some time. What are my rights? Then you got to get an attorney and see what the state law says.
Well, that's what I was going to say too, because both of you, kind of in passing mentioned legally, lawyers, real estate agents have lawyers, or you go to a lawyer. That right there is something that I want to drive home the most. If you are unmarried and you're whether you're doing it with your friends or a significant other in a relationship, the most important thing that you can do is to contact a lawyer, whether it be through your real estate agent, whoever it is, but make sure that you're talking with a lawyer as you go through this. Because like we said, this could happen really fast.
That's a disclaimer. Right? I mean, you can make it happen, whatever, and you guys high five it, and and then just deal with it later. But the disclaimer is, if you want to know the correct ins and outs, talk to your real estate agent, and then if you want to go deeper, contact an attorney.
Yeah,
a real estate attorney.
Absolutely. And so we mentioned the finances. Come on back, Mike. We mentioned the finances, and that we talked about that as far as one person can get a mortgage, and that I think is something that is important to note is that the reason only one person can be liable for that mortgage is because you are unmarried. There is no legal document that's binding you two together as a single entity to the country, to the federal government. Whereas when you do it separately, you cannot, and this is what I want to emphasize, you cannot take both people's incomes on that one mortgage because, again, you have no legal liability to the other. So it's one or the other when it comes to who's applying for the loan.
And again, it's a lot more involved because in the United States, I'm gonna veer off a little bit. You do not have to be a legal citizen to purchase property here.
Yep.
As long as you have cash, it don't matter. As long as you pay the taxes, you're good to go. A lot of people buy condos near universities because their kids, foreign investors come in, and or your kid's going to, let's say, CU, you live out in Spain. You buy a condo there because it's cheaper. You pay your 30% tax or whatever it is, and then when you sell it, done. As long as you do it with cash or a bank from your country. Now, the banks here within the States, the reason why it's so hard to purchase if you're not a U.S. citizen is because the bank is the only one on the lien, and they want you to be on the hook for it. Well, if you have no legal status here, you just leave it alone, and the bank's stuck with the property.
Yep.
That's why it's so hard. There's two different realms there. There's the realms and guidelines within the financing of purchasing a home, and then there's the state legal realm that binds you to the property.
Yeah.
So
and to clarify, right, like the scenario we're using is a scenario where you have an unmarried couple and one maybe is in better financial shape to apply for a loan than the other one.
Yes.
So it would hurt. But you can still apply for a loan together without being married, right? You can do that.
Yep.
You're just now you have legally binding to the bank so that if something defaults, you guys break up, whatever it is. Now you're both legally obligated because you're both on the loan themselves.
Yes.
So that's why the difference between what's on title versus a loan, it's a very, very big difference. Title is the ownership of the home, but the loan documents are what ties you to who has the first rights of the lien to the house itself. If you make more than the other person and you're both on the loan, that's where you would want to consult a lawyer or a CPA set up something like an LLC so you can actually have a business partnership. Because let's say, for example,
I mean, that's a whole nother realm. Buy
Right,
it under an
Yeah.
LLC.
Well, and exactly, and that's one of the things.
yes,
that,
and the reason I want to bring it up is because let's say you've got 2 domestic partners. One of them makes $150,000 a year. The other one makes $65,000 a year. They both apply for the loan because they have good credit. They can apply for, they can get higher limits, whatever. Well, in that scenario now, if one makes 60, the other makes 150, are you splitting the mortgage payment 60-40, 70-30? Mm-hmm. If it's a gentleman's agreement, there's nothing that protects you if something does go bad and you guys have to sell the house and the bank goes, okay, well, here's the deal. Like, you have to sue the other person and we're going to default, we're going to sell the house, and this is how we're going to split the profits, right? Mm-hmm. If you do it under something like an LLC, or you have a purchase agreement that outlines who's responsible
There's a lot
for
more
what
work
percentage
with an LLC.
Right, but it insulates you a little bit, and it allows you to define that partnership a little bit better.
Yes.
In case something does happen. Because if I've got somebody, if I'm paying on a $4,000 mortgage, I'm paying $3,000 and my partner's paying $1,000, then we break up and we decide to sell the house, and they go, well, I lived in this house, I contributed, I want 50% of the proceeds. Well, no, I was paying 70% of the mortgage. If that's not spelled out anywhere,
if you want to get detailed
it
like
gets
that,
real ugly.
yes, LLC is the way to go.
It gets real ugly.
Exactly.
And I mean, you said, come on, a gentleman's agreement. It's pride, man. Come on, that holds water a whole lot, at least in my world. Anyway, but
Yeah, I
no,
was gonna say.
in the legal world, it
know about
doesn't.
that.
Not with a
the lawyer.
or spited ex-boyfriend or girlfriend.
Jaded,
Right.
yeah,
So I
jaded
mean,
ex-girlfriend,
okay. So we
boyfriend.
talked about if one's the only one purchasing financially, and now we were going to segue in the title. Now let's talk about, and we'll go into title. If both parties buy it at the same time, and now you can still do it LLC. You're both on the loan. If you really want to get specific, because in an LLC you have ownership, right? And the ownership percentage of what, if we sell, this is what you're going to get.
Right.
Now in title, they're still 50-50 or 100% each. So it doesn't matter if you're only paying $1,000, the other person's paying $3,000. When it's sold, it's still 50-50. Which again, consult an attorney, because even if you're married, what does that look like, right? Because it's going to tie into everything, child support, everything, right? The housing and everything comes in. So the two tenancies are tenants in common and joint tenancy. Take one.
I mean, joint tenancy basically means that there's a right of survivorship. So what that means is if something happens to the other party, then the other person in that joint tenancy gets half, or gets the whole entity,
The whole boat.
transferred to themselves.
Yep.
Right. Which, again, that is in the case of death or,
That's just pretty much death.
yeah. Well, I was going to say, like, if it's a
Unforeseen
power of
circumstances.
attorney and you turn into a vegetable, right, and you can't make decisions, like,
Yeah.
where does that go?
Yeah, pull the
So
plug
joint
right through
tenancy
the
just means that
vegetable.
if
Screw
something happens to one party, the other party inherits whatever that asset is at 100%.
Right.
Yep.
Tenants
Tenancy
in
in
common is you're both you're both ownership equally, but if one of the parties passes away, then their ownership goes on to their heirs. And again, if they don't have a living will, probate time, and if they have kids, aunts, uncles, moms, dads, whatever they wanted to go to, good luck with that fight. That's going to get ugly.
Right. Yeah.
So joint tenancy, both on title, one passes away, the other one takes full ownership. Tenants in common, both on title, one passes away or something happens, then that portion doesn't go to the other surviving party, it goes to their heirs.
Yep. Well, and I think something that, and this is all the technical stuff for everybody who's in real estate or looking, this can get a little overwhelming when we're throwing tenancy in common, tenancy and severalty, and talking about loans and probates and all that kind of stuff. I think one thing that, we should talk about too is the importance of, we said this topic's about relationships, but if you are preparing to do something like this, obviously in a relationship you should have good communication, but even let's talk about, like I said, outside of an unmarried couple.
Yeah, you and I
even
going
just-
in a house.
Yeah, exactly.
What is that going to look like?
Right.
I mean, if I pass away, it's like you get everything. No, I mean, I want my mom to get it. But
Right.
even within a marriage, and let's say a marriage, not even an unmarried couple, a marriage, do not assume that they're going to go joint tenancy.
Yeah.
You know why? Because blended marriages. Hey, I have 3 kids. My wife has 3 kids. The Brady Bunch. Let's go. Well, we both go in on this home. Now, let's say that she doesn't have the best relationship with my kids. Now, I don't want my kids to be out in the street if I pass away. So we do tenants in common. If I go join tenancy, she gets full ownership. She kicks my kids out, and they're on the streets. Well, in tenants in common, I pass away. Now she's ownership, but I have a living will that if something were to happen to me, they have ownership of my property. Now my kids are protected, and they could live in the home too.
Exactly. And what I was alluding to with that is, so, and you always hear, the love gurus, the relationship coaches talking about in any relationship, professional, personal, the most important thing is communication, right? And so, obviously.
The number one thing is attraction. I don't care what anybody says. Then it's communication.
You've obviously not watched the Netflix special Love is Blind.
No,
Nick
I have
Crochet
not.
disagrees.
I have
heard
watched
some
The
crazy
Love
stuff
Guru,
about that.
though, and I know Shelby
We
gives me
watch
crap
it every
about
night.
that.
Oh yeah. It's a great
Anyway.
show.
But the reason I bring it up is because I
Be
think
honest
that,
with the communication.
Well, yeah, and that's what I mean is, by no means are we relationship coaches or anything like that, but from people who, us who deal with stuff like this and understand how taxing the back end of this can be, if you have proper communication up front, and yeah, we all don't like sitting down and talking about things like, if I die, what happens? But these are the important conversations, especially when you're thinking about doing a transaction as big as a home purchase. If you guys are not able to sit down and have these conversations, I would say stop
You're not
and
ready.
slow down
Yep.
and stop thinking about buying a property together because you're not ready for that commitment anyway. Because if you can't talk about it beforehand, now imagine when you're both jaded, one of you is hurt, something happens, now you have to sit down and talk to each other about this ownership. How is that going to go?
On the flip side of that coin, if you're not wanting to have those we're going to be married conversations, but you still want to move forward, think about LLC. There's options.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
Maybe not tenants common, not joint tenancy. Maybe we do it under LLC. That way, it's a business decision, and you guys are still,
And
safe.
the way that works, right, is if you buy a property with an LLC, which is not expensive to do, right?
And it's not uncommon.
And it's not uncommon.
Yep.
But what is the tenancy default for an LLC buying a property?
Common.
Right?
Yep.
That's it. But it's tenancy in common, but there's not another party. So you have the LLC that purchases the property in tenancy in common, or technically you can do tenancy and severalty if you want
Right.
to.
And then the LLC takes
The
over.
separate piece of that is the partnership agreement.
I think it is. I think you brought up a great point. And again, I haven't done one of these in a long time, but I think it is in severalty,
severalty.
with it because
With
it's
the
one
entity.
it's one
Correct.
entity. Then that entity you open it up because then with an LLC you have percentages, ownerships, payouts,
And now it sounds
who
like-
does what.
Yes, and it sounds like a much more business proposition.
Yes.
It's clean.
But we're
And that's the whole
suggesting
point.
it because it's clean and it allows you guys. So again, I'll go back to the example. Let's say you got two people.
You know I'm always going to be pro real estate.
Right. But it goes, let's say it goes back to two people that make very different amounts of money. They both want to be on the loan, right?
Yep.
But you want to make sure that there's no question and there's clarity on who pays what. You do it under an LLC. It's tenancy and severalty, which means the LLC is what owns the property itself. And then within that partnership, those definitions, you can boil it down to the nth degree and say, okay, I'm going to pay
100%.
This person's going to pay 62% of the mortgage. This person's going to pay 38%. Utilities of A, B, and C are paid by party A. D, E, and F are paid by party B. And then the beauty of it is you have this agreement and it takes out I would call it like the angst of having those conversations every single month because it's spelled out. And then if something does happen, because let's be honest, right? I think it's 47% of marriages end in divorce.
I thought it crossed 50.
It could have crossed 50.
I think it crossed 50%.
So let's say it's 50. That's marriages, legally binding marriages with children.
Wouldn't you say
involved.
if a marriage ends, it's going to be divorce anyway?
Wait, what?
If a marriage ends, it's going to be divorce.
Yes.
So 100%.
Right. So
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, if that's the divorce rates of marriage, now
Mm-hmm.
imagine these unmarried couples that are buying a house and experiencing all these kind of things. You don't, like we talked about, have legal protection, but under an LLC, you can define, okay, if we decide to split and sell the property based on this is what you get, this is what you get. And if something does happen, more angst gets
And time
washed
period.
away.
Because
Yes.
you said it, a jaded spouse, "Oh, I'm not going to sign those divorce papers. I'm not, because you're going to get everything. No,
Exactly.
within the LLC, if and when stuff is breached, if one decides to sell, we have X amount of days to get it on the market, get it sold, and we're done. So, and then understand that when you go into get finance for this, you are equally on the docket to pay.
Yep.
It doesn't matter who pays how much. The bank wants their money.
Unless you
Within the LLC, that's when you're like, okay, so the bank's like, you're on the hook. Well, we have an LLC, so the courts will see the LLC, and these are the agreements we had. Yes, the payment is $4,000, but because of finances, we took it into percentage. I'm only paying $1,500. You're paying the rest, and then from there, that at least you're covered as far as real estate. Bills, whole different story.
Well, even under real estate, right?
Yeah.
Proceeds. You can
proceeds
say, hey,
if
if
they
we sell
sell.
the house,
Yep.
based on what we're paying, if we sell the house proceeds, I'm going to net 60%.
Can you do
of the
that on a
proceeds.
lease?
You're going to net 40.
Can you do that on a lease?
No.
Nope.
So you're more protected to buy real estate if
Yes.
you buy real estate.
Just
there's more
do it
options.
right.
There's more options for you to go in and be protected than just signing a lease together.
Correct. And again, it
because
takes
a mortgage doesn't have a time period.
Right.
You could sell that biatch within 2 months.
Right.
As long as they're equity. In a lease, you got to ride that shit out for a year.
But it gets rid of the angst on the back end too if something does happen.
Yep.
And let's say you and Alicia break up after you guys bought this house but you have it defined, okay, we're going to sell the house and whatever proceeds we get, we're going to split 70-30. There's no question. There's no arguments. There's no,
Exactly.
I'm going to go talk to my mom and you talk to your parents and everybody gets pissed off. It's like, hey, here's the deal. This didn't work. Let's sell the house, put it on the market.
And
When
it
we do
takes
get
even
net
the
proceeds-
family dynamic out of it.
Exactly.
Your mom's like, well, you're paying. No, Mom. We had an LLC. This was
Yes.
an agreement. So chill out. I cannot do anything else besides what we agreed
and
on.
people, I think, assume that something like an LLC, limited liability company, I guess if we're doing definitions, is complicated and is convoluted. It's not. It is there to protect people's interests. And if used in the right way, and again, always consult a CPA and a lawyer when you guys are considering this, we're just giving you guys one of the things that we
basic setup.
think is extremely important if you're looking at purchasing as an unmarried couple, as two friends, whatever it looks like, because it protects both parties. It gets rid of any angst. It gets rid of any worry. And in the event that things go sideways, there's less to deal with emotionally and financially.
And within that, you could, what are the obligations? You have to have an agent, and then you have to have the ownerships are in there. So you could even divvy that up, and it doesn't have to be complicated. You could make it as simple as possible or as detailed as possible. I mean, you could just have it as Charlie and Alicia LLC, and then I pay this much, you pay that much, the rest, whatever. So you can make it as detailed, and who's going to be the signer, who's going to be keeping it up, and then you pay a $25 a year to upkeep your
LLC,
business name or
yeah.
whatever.
Yep.
So there's more options within real estate, and again, there's going to be more legal side. So we're just giving you the basics. It's a disclaimer. We're not attorneys. There's more to look at, but there's more options that way.
Yes.
And again, we don't want to see Charlie and Lisa divorce or split up. We want to see this marriage. Whenever it comes to it, I'm gonna make them sweat right now. So hopefully,
Ain't no
within
sweating.
it, no,
Ain't no
I'm
sweating.
just kidding. No, but it is something. It is something to look into. And again, I'm always going to be pro real estate because within a lease, you have very limited detail of what's going to happen. Within real estate, you could down to the T.
well, within a lease, you can't make any money.
Well, yeah.
No, at the end of the day, you can't make money. You're stuck paying something for a year, and if you don't, it's going to go on credit. They're going to come after you and all this
And
other
I think
stuff.
that's a great point with it is, the whole reason we talked about this topic is because everything going around right now, and if you talk to anybody, it's impossible to buy a house. It's the housing market is so terrible. It's not possible for many people. We talk about this because when times get tough, we get creative, right? And that's exactly what we have to do. And at the end of the day, yes, it could be a little bit more painful emotionally. It could be a little bit more taxing mentally to discuss things like this without having that certificate of marriage, but you still have options. And that's the whole point of talking about this topic is we are in a position where if you want to buy a home, if you want to own an asset in property, you have to come up with creative ways, learn how to compromise. And I'll tell you what, if you're able to talk to a significant other or a friend about something like a purchase this big, that'll solidify a relationship or a friendship right there.
I mean, if you're going to do it traditionally, I have a girlfriend, we want to buy a house together. Hell no, that's a horrible idea. But if you talk to the right agent, okay, here's how you protect yourself. And yes, it's a great idea because let's say you and Alicia want to buy something. But you're like, all right, well, finances are a little crazy. You want to be in on it. Hell, go find the friend that you were roommates with. Find a duplex.
Yep.
He could still live by himself. We're neighbors, but you're not living together. You and Lisa take one unit. He takes the other unit. Buy it under LLC. Boom, you guys own something.
Yep.
And then divvy up the percentages.
And exactly, and that's and honestly, that's what we've talked about. I moved out here with two of my best friends that I grew up with and I knew very well, And same thing happened. We lived in a house. Each one of them wanted to move out and live on their own. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. But now the conversation is, hey, man, I can save you some money on your rent. I have the ability to do this. You'd be helping me gain an asset. And if you want, we can talk about split if we sell. We can talk about co-ownership and stuff like that. But yet again,
It's like a timeshare.
but opportunities and options, right? And that's where, unfortunately, we are going to have to start doing stuff like that. And why you see this number creeping up. And honestly, when we saw these reports and the articles come out, I was not surprised at all that this is where it's tailoring towards.
Here's the other one, right? What
Sorry,
percentage of unmarried couples right now in the United States live with their parents? Couples living with one of the sets of
Holy
parents.
crap,
What's the
couples?
percentage?
Hell, man, I don't know. I'm from the old school. My mom would be like, hell no, you're married. You gotta go get somewhere to live. But
Well, I understand that's how they do it in Sinaloa. I'm talking
it's not even Sinaloa. Stop talking about
I'm-
Sinaloa, man. One
I
of the
would
rappers
say-
got in trouble for that, for the cartel.
I would say more than
Not from
28%.
okay.
Couples that live with their parents, that's a tough one for me because I don't view it that way. I want to say about 10%.
City.
60?
60%.
Holy crap! Let's get you out of that basement and into your own place.
Right?
60%.
But again, to your point, you know,
3
like
in
what-
5
What
unmarried
I
couples
want, my
live
mind's still.
in
I
mom
have
and
an
dad's basement.
I have an unsettled mind, so I'm here, but my mind's like.
Right.
When I came to Colorado, I thought you were gonna be like, I came to Colorado with $5 in my pocket in a dream. Yep.
close to it.
So no.
7.
We're doing it, baby.
We need to get you out of your parents' house. There's a way to do it. There's a way financially to do it. If you're financially, we'll get creative. But as far as if you're already together, you're living in someone's house. That's more of a commitment than getting into a mortgage.
I sent Jameson a video of it, but somebody did, and there's an agent that did some really good marketing near my apartment complex.
Oh, yeah.
Right as you're coming out, there's a little street sign, and full credit. You probably won't see this, but full credit to you. It said, "Wu-Tang is forever. Renting is not." And I was like, that's how you hit a demographic right there. That's good stuff.
But neither is
Wu-Tang was
mortgages.
at the C
right?
You know what?
Like in
But
Oregon.
your renting is at least a year, 6 months to a year, unless you're VRBO in it, which that's stupid.
Yep.
A year. Your mortgage, try to break a 1 year lease.
Yep.
You want to break a mortgage? Sell that thing tomorrow.
Yep.
There is no prepayment penalties anymore.
So
Very little.
just to make people feel better about themselves, I've got a couple of statistics here around
All
just
right,
like
let's wrap it up with the
yeah.
statistics.
So typically, the average unmarried couple that are trying to buy a home together for the first time are age 32, with a combined income of $72,500, and these shoppers,
Millennials.
right, are more likely to receive loans or gifted money from friends and family by about 5%. So if you are in that boat, 1, don't be afraid to ask for help.
So say psychologically alone, that's awesome.
2, understand that you're not behind, ahead, whatever. It's just whatever your time is, whenever it's ready, it's ready.
Yeah.
But that being said, understand that there are options and ways to do it, both from a creative financial standpoint, and then in tow of that, ways to protect you and your partner's interests, so that if something horrible does happen, it's as smooth of a transaction as it possibly can be.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. All right. Next stat.
next stat, man, I don't what kind of stat you want, bro?
I mean, I think I saw one that was pretty interesting as far as married couples and unmarried couples, how and where they're saving, the rate that they're saving and where they're saving, right? So if I remember
In this
graph
economy,
correctly-
there is no savings. What are you talking about?
Right. Well, but no, and it's exactly to your point. But what it showed was a graph of, and I'll see if I can put it up, a graph of where unmarried couples are saving money versus where married couples are saving money.
Okay.
And the unmarried couples were in each category, whether it's groceries, whether it's going out, out to eat, or if it's events.
Oh, you're talking about
and
like
leisure.
from a financial sacrifice
Yeah,
standpoint?
yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
I got you.
Okay.
So the statistic there then is that, oh man, I got to find it. I just
And
had
where are we pulling these stats from?
the stat man.
The stat man.
Yeah.
Jameson,
Stat man.
the stat man.
No, this is actually from the National Association of Realtors.
Okay.
46% made financial sacrifices, unmarried versus married. Okay. The difference is, so when you make sacrifices or made no sacrifices, 46% of unmarried unmarried couples, 46% made no sacrifices. Married couples, 64% made no sacrifices. But by and large, where the sacrifices are happening are non-essential goods spending, entertainment, going out, movies, dinner, whatever, spending on clothes, And then the big one is minimum payments on bills, which that's dangerous.
Yes.
And took a second job.
So even when, and the reason I brought that up is because even when you partner up, right, and you are in an unmarried couple, you still have to, again, communicate in areas on how can we make this work together, right? With a marriage, a lot of the times, and I know I'm not married, but a lot of the times you have joint accounts, right? You guys share accounts. You both have a card that goes into it.
Hell no.
I like it, Oscar. I like it.
We don't.
But I'm saying a lot of the
I don't
time
We have clear communication.
I don't either.
We do have one joint account, but because I run a business, I run my real estate, I have my business accounts, I have my own checking account. She does run a small business. It's a natural skincare, Lit and Fink, but it's her own deal, and she has her own personal. And I mean, we're different. We have a different money blueprint.
Yeah.
I grew up with nothing, made something of myself. She grew up with a pretty affluent family, and to her, she really, she had her own struggles, but it was okay. So with that said, we have a different money blueprint.
Yeah.
So I'm a saver and a spender in a different way. She is a spender, sometimes saver. So if I put 10 grand in her personal checking account, that shit's going to Target. All of it tomorrow.
That's
so
great.
we
so
have
many brushed silver frames.
but we had that communication,
Exactly.
right? She's like, you know what? I'm the one that primarily pays for everything. It's not that she can't. She has every credit card that I have. She has building her credit, all that stuff.
But
so if she needs to, she'll do it.
Where I was
but when it
going
comes
with that-
when it comes with money, if she needs a certain amount, I'll just dump it in there, and she'll tell me for what, and she's okay with
Yeah,
that.
but where I was going with that is when you're married, obviously you've already come to that conjunction of, hey, we are a couple. We're doing this together. We made this commitment. So a lot of the
I'd be
time,
surprised that
well,
how often that
yes,
conversation
You have a
50%,
very
but-
vague way of what marriages are, Charlie.
But
Maybe you're
I'm
not
saying
ready for this shit.
At a low expectancy of what a marriage should be,
Yeah.
right? A lot of the times it's easier to track money coming in, money coming out. When you are unmarried, I think it's again, you don't have the obligation of showing them your income. So that's why a lot of the time I think these numbers are with unmarried couples, they're saving more, or in certain areas they're making those sacrifices because they are managing their own money, and it's not hey, what does your account look like, or what's in your account, or hey, I know this bill is coming up, how much do you have, what do I have? It's more or less, hey, I'm covering my stuff, you're covering your stuff, cool, I can make some sacrifices here, I can make some sacrifices here, and now both of our incomes are being affected at a certain level that we control. Versus, again, marriages, a lot of the time, they're a little bit more cohesive than just unmarried couples. So they're having those communications around money a little bit more frequently and more of an understanding of what's coming in and coming out.
There's a Wild West at my house.
Yeah, I don't have joint accounts.
But again, it's
And again, it's
personal preference.
Yes.
It's personal preference. I mean,
We have
again, and just
Venmo, exactly, yeah.
caveat on that one is, my wife isn't restricted.
Yeah.
It's Wild West. She gets to spend what the hell she wants without ramifications of anything.
mean,
because
that's
if
another great point.
if I allow it, it's happening. So it's all good.
It's another great point. Sharing
You know?
money has
I'd
become
rather have it.
exponentially easier.
I personally rather have that way because she has none of the financial stresses. I make sure I take care of all the bills. We have a certain spending amount, and she gets to do what the hell she wants with it. I never restrict what she can or cannot do as long as it's part of that, but that's part of my financial structure of how I run my things.
Hell yeah.
Hey, so
Well,
here's another statistic why we're talking about this
All right.
and why I think it's going to continue to be a problem. Not a
Okay.
problem, a trend.
You said problem.
Well, it could be a problem, I guess, 52% of the time. A trend because of where housing prices and affordability are not going to go. They did a recent survey under John Burns Research and Consulting, which they do some phenomenal work. They have done this survey over the last 7 to 10 months. And they have found that essentially 71% of prospective homebuyers who plan to purchase their next home with a mortgage said they will not accept a rate above 5.5%. Likewise, homeowners are nearly twice as willing to sell their home if their mortgage rate is 5% or higher. That's the tipping point.
So in 2027, people are going to be
Correct. So
moving
what
on.
we're going to see is we are going to see that this isn't going to change. And in order for it to make sense, one person taking on a 7.5% mortgage versus two people able to take on a 7.5% mortgage is going to be a driving factor because at the end of the day, people are going to get sick of renting continually. like it's just said, the average age is 32, right? I'm
getting
sorry,
tired
but
of worrying about putting holes in my walls,
Well,
man.
well,
That's what I'm saying.
and the thing is that percentage kind of sucks because at the end of the day, okay, when are you going to do it, and when is it beneficial that you're not taking that 5.5%?
Yep.
Because you're taking a loss either way.
Yeah, so then here's what
if
you do.
you're renting, you're taking a loss.
Right, and
If you
this
take the
goes back to
7%, it might not be that big of a loss.
this goes back to our previous like smart money episode, right? If you guys are in this position and you're an unmarried couple that's looking to potentially purchase within a year, okay? Right now, I think I saw a couple of CDs that are sitting at 6.5%. If you have $10,000 that you're saving for a down payment and it is sitting in your checking account and you don't need it and you're using it to save for a down payment, pull that shit out, put it in a 1-year CD, and let it gain a compound 6.5%. Because remember, like, yeah, you can get, what is it, $600 is on 10,000, but it's compound interest. So it's 6.5% every 30 days. Keep it in there until you're ready to use it, because all it's going to do is just grow a little bit more money.
The greatest
Put and
invention,
plan in place together.
Albert Einstein, the greatest invention of mankind.
Compound interest.
Compound
And
interest.
you know, the bigger the risk, the bigger reward. There's other vehicles out there.
Sure.
And how much you want to put into let it ride. But at the same time, when it comes to financing, it's subjective on what's smart, right? Not a lot of people look at it. When it comes to your money, you don't want to look at it just numbers, right? I mean, I earned that, and then, it hurts. But let's take into consideration lending right now. You would think no one's refinancing, right?
Right.
Hell no, you'd be crazy to refinance. If you have a 4.5 interest rate, I'm not going to refinance. You know what lenders are doing? They're taking consideration your credit card interest, which is stupid high. Refinance, get a 7%, you're saving $500 a month. Just don't go into debt again. Again, it's subjective on what is a smart financial move to do. It is smart because you are saving money, but how you look at interest rates and your income and how you're going to spend it and how you're going to pay is very subjective on how your emotions are going to feel about that.
Absolutely.
I put every single one of my tax dollars that I owe for this year in a CD.
Yep.
I have a money market account.
Like, why not?
I don't even go a CD. Money market account gets you better than any savings, right?
Well,
I
it
mean-
it depends on.
And I mean,
Right.
It could be real bad this winter, but
we could break it down and talk about all the different ways, and go check out our creative financing
Yes.
episode,
Episode 36
But
or something.
I think this is a good time because it kind of feels like we're wrapping up to move into our
Yeah.
one rock takeaway, and I'll go ahead and start it off just to give you guys a little bit of time to format your own. But my one rock takeaway for today's episode is communication. Is if you are deciding to do something like this, where you're going in with a partner, a friend, you're in an unmarried relationship, communication, and transparency. Because this is, again, the largest purchase you're probably ever going to make in your life. So take the time and sit back, be honest, open up as much as you can and say, hey, these are my fears. These are my hopes, and really lay it out on the table. Because if you don't do that going into a transaction like this, it's only going to get ugly if something goes south. Whether that be a friendship, right? Whether that be a friendship or a relationship, communication is key. Know what you want out of it, what you want to, get with it, and just be open with the communication.
Real estate has options. Don't think that just because you're not married or, that's a big commitment. A real estate could be a 2-month commitment. A lease is going to be a 1-year commitment. Now, is a 2-month commitment going to be smart? Probably not, but you have your outs. Real estate has tons of options. Make sure that you talk to your local realtor, real estate agent about it. If you're wanting to invest or go into it with a partner, whether it's a significant other or a group of friends, you could set it up to where there's not going to be those ugly conversations. This is what we want. This is what we want to get out of it. But at the time that you're going to sign, make sure that's what you want. So real estate has options. Don't limit yourself to saying, hey, you know what, we're renting because I'm not married or I can't put it together.
The number one reason for divorces in the United States is what?
Money.
Finances.
Cheating.
No, it's number 3.
No.
Finances.
No, you know what, polyamory. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going on a tangent. Just because you keep saying that it all ends in divorce, and it's like, to me, it's like, yeah, that's
Only 52%.
Because if I die, she's still married to me. God damn, I'm just kidding.
You can't move on.
You can't move on. I'm gonna haunt you. I'm just kidding.
It's finances, right? And that's for marriages.
100%.
So
That's when
obviously,
it gets ugly.
From a domestic
All the
partnership, it's even more to Charlie's point. So I think, I mean, I piggyback off the communication side of it. I think that, my biggest thing is in real estate in general, don't be afraid to get creative. Like, there are rules and regulations in place to make buying real estate beneficial. And there's a reason that no matter who you talk to, and pick a financial guru on any social media platform, anybody in the history. I'm reading The Science of Getting Rich right now. The other one was Think and Grow Rich, right? Any book, self-help book, every single one of them in some way, shape, or form will mention real estate, right? Yep. Because
I like Think and Grow Rich.
It's great.
It's a great one.
But it's because, so let's say I want to own a business, and my business is, I don't know, shout out Chris Walters. It's going to be escape rooms. What do I need to put an escape room in? Real estate. I'm going to open a restaurant. Real estate. I want to buy a parking lot. Real estate. I want to buy RV storage. Real estate. All of it ties into real estate. You can do very few things in life from a business and success standpoint. If you want to own something without having some sort of foot into real estate. So don't be afraid as an unmarried couple to dive into that realm, because I am extremely pro real estate. Just understand that there are things that you can put in place in the back end to protect both parties in case something goes bad, and that way you guys don't get
right. And again, the option of doing it with someone else that you're not married, at least when you're married, it's like, man, hopefully you love the person, and there's like the emotional part of it. When you're just dating, or if it's just a friendship, that emotional part's out. We're going to get down to business.
Business.
Right? Business.
Exactly.
What's yours?
Exactly.
What's mine? What have you paid? There are ways to structure
Think
it.
and grow rich together.
Yes.
Together.
Well, I'll tell you guys what. I mean, this was almost a surprise topic for us, but I think it plays so well into what's going on in the market right now and how it's moving.
And our culture.
And the culture, exactly. Because
as Americans.
Like we said, I mean, in 1985, and
dude, I even mentioned this. Like, my sister's a perfect example.
Yeah.
She's been with her boyfriend for 9-10 years.
Holy crap.
They own 2 properties in Chicago. Yep. One of which is a $1.7 million condo on Lake Michigan. They're not married. They have no plans of getting married whatsoever, but they have worked out their relationship. That they understand what each other, and they bought it with an LLC.
But see,
so they're both protected, and now they own $3, $4, $5 million worth of real estate in 2 different states.
But that's the perfect marriage too. Yep. I mean, you don't have to like be old school about your marriage.
No,
I mean, there's tons of marriages that people that I know, and even in mine, we have certain agreements within our marriage, and that's what holds marriages together.
Exactly.
In their case, they have their agreements, and that's why their relationship. And I think a relationship is more important than a marriage. A marriage is just a title. A relationship is
a piece
the
of paper with some tax benefits.
Yeah, and a relationship is actually the meats and bones of it, whether you're married or not. Right. An agreement that you guys have, trust me, I know some pretty weird relationships, but it works for them because they have their agreements and they stand by
And we
them.
say it very often.
And I love that. I love agreements.
Do what's right for you in all aspects of life.
Yep.
I don't care what the structure says, what your family says. If it's right for you at that time and you feel confident in your thought, move on it, do it because it's right for you, right? Again, great conversation over a topic that kind
Chase
of
your
popped up,
dreams,
right?
but nobody,
Chase your dreams.
Nobody.
But I think now is a great time to move into the bourbon review. And I don't know about you guys, but I mean, I know both of your glasses are empty right now.
What?
But
it opened up, didn't it?
It opened up.
It opened up.
It definitely
did.
like
it
honestly,
opened up in my belly.
41 bourbons at this point, right? And we always let them sit. We open them. We pour them.
I was gonna say I want to taste it open up.
Right, but
we have an option.
Yeah, we do. Thank you, JC. And this one, to me, out of all 41, has opened up and changed characteristics more than any other one.
It's kind of mapley on the nose.
The aftertaste that I initially got completely
Well, even now, like I said,
different.
Right when we first took
it was
a
kind
sip,
of fishy for me at the beginning.
Right when we took a sip, the first time I was like, "Oh, there's
now
nothing
it's way
there."
sweeter.
Yep, there's nothing there, and now it's immediately. You take the sip, the burn gives way immediately to spices.
Yep.
And I'm a true believer of the neck pour. Who the hell got the neck pour?
I did.
You did. So you got the most harsh.
Yes.
Yep.
But that aftertaste, like it almost It almost tasted like light chlorine, like chlorinated water.
Yeah.
And I was getting,
in the aftertaste, like sitting
Yep.
on the back of the tongue.
and I was getting fishy.
yes,
aftertaste.
but now it's a little bit of burn, nice and smooth, maple on the back end.
Yeah. That, like I said, this for out of all the ones that we've tried, this one has opened up the most. And it's funny because right when we took the first sip of it, I was like, in my head, I was like, this is a small batch?
Like, Jameson, what the fuck
What
did you
what
buy?
is it like? But it's
Like, man,
small
just
batch?
trust the
What?
process. Be Joel and me.
yeah, I
Trust
mean-
the process.
Even the nose opens up. The sweet notes came out. Get way more of those spices. And on the sip, I mean, just the spice forward is so great. And then it
just
it
melts.
does. Yeah, it falls. It gives way.
Can I give a weird description? Taste. I would say that it's opened up to a. Hold on, before I say it.
If you say fresh cut grass,
I mean, a cucumber saltwater taffy.
Okay.
that is so oddly
Light.
specific.
But no, I get it. 'Cause
I
it's
also
light.
haven't had cucumber saltwater taffy since I lived in Virginia Beach. And now I miss saltwater taffy because it used to be one
You
of
can't
my
find the good
favorite
stuff here.
No, you have to go to the coast. Like we used to have it on the Virginia Beach boardwalk, or we go down to like Nag's Head,
Yeah.
in North Carolina, and they would sell it there. Oh my god, so fucking good.
Well, I mean, and for me, it's
But
even,
yes, you know what? I'll give you the saltwater taffy portion. I don't know about the cucumber.
It's kind of the earthy.
I get. Well, I was gonna
Yeah.
say I get where you're saying cucumber because it's a light element.
Refreshing.
Yeah.
Of-
Yes. Okay. I got you.
refreshing,
I got you.
greeny
Yeah,
kind
I
of,
got you.
and then saltwater taffy.
Yeah, I
that's
get
what.
it. I get it.
And
I mean, dude,
I'm not
cucumber,
completely crazy.
cucumber jalapeno margaritas are my favorite because they're.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
they're delicious.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. I mean, anything in a summer, if you do watermelon or cucumber in a cocktail, you're
Yeah.
you're gonna
And
win.
basil.
Right?
Yep.
I mean,
You're
come
gonna
on,
win.
Yep.
you're gonna love it.
Yep.
But yeah, this I mean, the rock rating for me changed completely.
trust the process.
Trust the process.
Trust the
Yeah,
process.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
It's sponsored by what the hell we
I think
just
it
talked
also
about.
it also is super funny to me because when I first started drinking bourbon, I probably could not have pinned down the difference between my first pour and like the third pour an hour later. Saying that it opened up and some different things,
Yeah.
but you don't realize like the oxidation as it sits there,
the release of the ethanol, everything.
and it changes that flavor profile.
You know why I couldn't?
You're,
Because I would have been on like my fifth pour within
Well, yeah.
10 minutes.
that's,
Right.
that's a little bit different.
Well,
I-
and
I've-
I will still say, although it did open up and the flavors are more prevalent, I would still not put a drop of water in it.
No, I
No.
would.
Because I feel like it would
It's
take
got
away
enough,
the growth.
It's got just enough character.
It does
Yeah.
it on its own.
yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
What
And I
the
like-
water's going to do to it, it does it on its own.
It's definitely a little bit more, for me, it's a little bit more dry on the back end as it sits, but it's a dry sweet. Like it's almost like this has a little bit higher of a rye mash
Yeah.
with the bite that you have on your
Well,
tongue
and
afterwards.
because it's very small batch, the barrels they use have different mash bills.
Yes.
So everything's all the bottles are going to be.
I'm going to
a
agree
little
with the
bit
dry.
Yeah.
Dry clean is what
Yeah.
I would describe
different. So
it.
do you guys want to know the price now or later?
I'll take it now. No, you know what? Let's give the rating and then
Okay.
we'll be like,
All right.
shit.
So I started with the one rock takeaway. Who wants to take the rock rating?
I'll do it. I am going to give it. Well, actually, no. I know the price. You go. You're just going to get blown away when I say it was $10.
You know, it's not my wheelhouse, but it's good. If I like it, I'm gonna be favorable to like. I feel bad giving it a bad rating. I can't be too critical on it. I don't know the price. I'm gonna say 4.5.
Okay. All right. I like that you said that, and I'm not as fearful as being critical of it, but I think I'm gonna hop up a full point and go 5.5.
Okay.
Only because for me, and we talked about that
And it's good.
It's and that's the whole thing is it's not bad, but small batch, especially combining 4 different barrels, I feel like there should be, yes, it opened up, but I feel like there should be a bit more complexity to it. I feel like even because at the end of the day, you have to let this open. You know what I mean? Like you can't at least from the first pour that we did, if I'm having this with friends, if I'm having this with people who know bourbon, they're gonna take that first sip and be like, this is water. There's no flavor to it.
What was that company that one of the bourbons that we tasted that it was a woman, and she would go and just grab a bunch of different barrels and then just mix them.
I can't remember, but I know exactly what you're talking about. It's the woman-owned business, the first
Yeah,
woman-owned
and she was like
distillery.
from Ireland or something.
Yeah.
That was
Well,
that
no,
was
there's
good. I'd
two.
like to.
One of them was the master distiller was a woman.
Right.
Yeah.
And
This
that one was one. The other one was Uncle
the
Nearest.
purchase. No. So there was she was a purchaser, wasn't she? Or
yeah,
distiller?
that was
Five Fist or Fist of something. I'd like to know what we rated that to. We're going to rate this because I
this
think
is why
that
we
would
need
be
the scoreboard.
Yeah,
this would be a good matchup.
This is
Yeah,
why we need
think.
that.
Yeah,
the
I
top
definitely-
gear, the Top Gear.
Yeah, I definitely think that this lends itself very, very well to a high quality cocktail. Honestly, no matter what you make it, especially after it opens up and now you add some of those flavors in, and it probably complement this a little bit. But again, we drink all of the bourbons neat here. As a neat, I'm gonna go with 5.5 just because it doesn't have the complexity. It does it up front, and I want to open a bourbon and know what I'm drinking, know the flavor, rather than having to baby it
And wait for it.
Because a lot of the time, I mean, we sit here for an hour. I had this open for an hour. I didn't re-pour, I had one pour, and I'm sorry, but who's gonna drink bourbon and let it sit for an hour?
Yeah.
You know.
Not I.
So I'm gonna give it a 5.5.
So what if I told you guys the price?
Okay.
$32.
Damn.
Yeah.
I think it'd probably take me to a 4.
It'd take me down to a 4.5. Yeah.
There's $32.
Yeah.
That's a damn good price for this.
Especially if you put it in a decanter.
Correct.
Now, let me ask you,
And
flavor
it's easily refillable decanter because $32.
Yep.
flavor profile wise, would you take this over larceny?
So that was what I was going to compare it to. I say yes.
Really.
I would take it over larceny.
So larceny is a different, like, I just want to drink, take a pour, and it's my wheelhouse. That's the only reason I would take larceny over this, because they're priced about the same, and about the same proof, right? This is just
I just think larceny has more flavor.
flavor wise for me that for my palate.
It has more sturdiness of a flavor.
See, I
a
think this is
bourbon.
more sweet forward than larceny.
Yeah.
Oh,
Which
absolutely.
that's my flavor profile is sweet. So I enjoy this more than larceny. I would pay the extra, what is it, $3?
Yeah, $5.
Yeah.
So if either of these were on the shelf, I would go this
Okay.
over larceny. But that's me. I think larceny is
My
bolder.
coffee's calling. I gotta use the restroom.
But I
got
do
pee.
think that this has a little bit more flavor profile than larceny does.
Yeah.
Larceny is just more of a bourbon drinker's.
Well, and it's
Okay.
weeded, right?
Yes.
The flavor profile is a lot
Right.
different.
Exactly.
Absolutely. But guys, thank you so much for joining us. Actually, Jim, so you didn't give a rock rating. You didn't give a number.
4.5.
4.5.
Okay.
Yeah. Awesome.
4.5.
Perfect.
Solid.
Yep. So 4.5, 4.5, 5.5, 4.5 for me, 4 from Oscar with the price point. But I think that, again, great episode. Jameson, thanks for grabbing the bottle, recommending
Yes.
the topic. And guys, remember, you can follow us on YouTube at Living in Colorado, The Mile High Perspective. And you can get in contact with us at any time. Our lines are open 24/7. It comes to all of our phones, and we have the opportunity to talk to you. You can also reach out via email, resotr@themilehighperspective.com, or give us a phone call.
303-578-0263. Hit up the YouTube channel. Like Charlie said, it's Living in Colorado, The Mile High Perspective. You can search us on YouTube and give us some topics, things that are burning in your head about questions you would want to ask. We love taking questions from viewers. So if you guys are watching this and something pops up, let us know. And then social media wise, we're all over social media like everybody should be. Oscar, where can they find you?
OscarTheRealtor.com, Oscar the Realtor, Oscar the Realtor CO.
Boom.
That Lifting Agent, Instagram, and Tickety Talk.
Tickety talk.
Tickety
We're going to
talk.
make on some ticket talkies.
Tickety.
The Colorado Real Estate Guy is my website. It's also where you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Thanks for watching, guys.
We look
Hopefully
forward
this
to
is,
catching you guys next week.
Yeah, this is helpful for
Absolutely.
you guys.
Absolutely. Leave some comments. Let us know what you want us to drink.
Thank you guys.
Cheers.